All right, team, we're live with Sondra. I'm your host, Sondra Shannon, Gatemaster CEO and Gatemaster Technology, the CEO of Gatemaster Technology. And I'm very excited about this next guest that I have because we're going to be talking about dreams to reality and innovations in entertainment and the attraction space. And I have a really special guest for you today. I just want to start off by saying I met this person probably a month ago in Branson. And for those of you that have not gone to one of the IAAPA Present events where we get to be behind the scenes of some really amazing parks, doing amazing things, talking to the team, seeing parts of the business that we sometimes don't get to see, right? If we're just visiting attractions. And, Megan and I just kind of hit it right off. So there's a little clue who's coming on the show. We just hit it right off, and we had some great conversations, not only about the business and the industry, but also about the professional development that she's doing, the volunteer work that she's doing, and how she is helping young professionals move forward in their own professional dreams and making that a reality. And one of the things that let me just introduce this person because I can't wait to get her on here. So Megan Gannon is the business development manager for Image Engineering, and she specializes in expanding their role in the themed entertainment space. As a UCF Rosen College graduate, she's worked with Disney, Universal, and IAAPA, focusing on sales, training, and operations. Megan mentors new professionals and speaks at industry events, and she contributes to the IAAPA committees and task force. So without further ado, let's get this very special person on the stage with me. Megan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sondra. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I was just telling the audience how we met a month ago in Branson?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Silver Dollar City.
Yes. Yeah. I had been once before, but being able to go there for an IAAPA event and see how the park runs in the backstage and everything was really amazing.
So which coasters did you ride? Did you ride any coasters that day?
Time Traveler, which is my favorite at the park. It's a lot of fun if you've been on it. It's like wild and smooth at the same time. And then Outlaw Run, which is a classic. And then we did the new Fire in the Hole. So that new RMC, which was exciting.
Yeah, that was such a special event. I also rode Time Traveler, and which was the highest one? Do you remember the highest point with the best
Ooh.
views? Did you?
Oh, it was like the wing. Oh, I forget the name of
I
it,
forget the
but I
name of
know which one.
it. That one. I mean, Time Traveler was definitely my favorite, simply because, like you said, it was thrilling and smooth, and that's
Mhm.
always that's always a nice thing to experience on a coaster. But that one had the most amazing views of the Ozarks, and somebody convinced me to go on that because heights are not my favorite thing, and
Okay.
it was absolutely beautiful. But I would say, we also had an additional experience, both as sponsors of the event. We were invited to the Branson, was it Branson Bell,
The
the
Showboat.
showboat,
Yeah,
yeah.
Showboat Branson Bell. Yeah.
And being on that boat and sitting next to you, which I'm so glad that
Yeah.
we got to sit next to each other because we were able to really get to know each other that night. And I realized that I needed to get you on this show to talk about what's happening and, where you're at, what's happening with you. So, thank you so much for, letting me get to know you that night and for the thoughtful conversation we had. And I'm very excited to share some of that with you all today. But before we get started, Megan, I'm sure I did not do your bio justice because you're an
Oh, you
amazing
did great.
person. Oh, well, thank you. But I would love for you to just tell the audience briefly, who are you and what are you doing? And maybe even like how you got into the industry. That's always a fascinating story to me. And I don't
Yeah.
know that about you, I realized today.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing that everybody has a different way into the industry. Some people want to do it their whole lives. Some people take a summer job and like fall in love with it. I knew like the attractions industry, theme park industry was something I always wanted to be in. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So Kennywood was my home park. And always loved going to Kennywood, and we would family vacation at Disney and Universal when I was a kid. And I said, I'm at my happiest when I'm at these places and I never want to leave. So I decided that's what I wanted to do. Didn't know how it was going to work out, but I went to UCF in the Rosen College of Hospitality Management in 2016 and graduated with my hospitality degree. And from there, everybody that I was going to school with, everybody was like, I'm going to run a park. I'm going to be a park manager, and I'm going to work my way up from frontline to be like the vice president and GM of a park. And so like my idea was, yeah, that's what I'll do too. And I started working in the industry. I started at Disney in 2017. I was a hostess at a table service restaurant in Magic Kingdom on Main Street, and then worked through a bunch of different attractions. I really liked what I was learning in attractions operations, but I was like, I don't know if I could do this for the rest of my life. So I want to try something new. So then I interned at Universal, and I wrote SOPs and operating documents for Beijing. So getting that experience on a new park was amazing. I really liked that aspect. And then went to intern at Disney at the Disney Institute, where they do professional development and training for third parties, and fell in love with the training side of things, and really enjoyed that, and working with people and meeting new people and gaining professional development skills with Disney Institute. But that was a really fun and short 4 months, because then the pandemic hit. So then I was unemployed for a while, and then ended up getting a job at IAAPA because I had volunteered as a show ambassador with them previously. So worked for IAAPA in sales. Never thought I would be in sales before. I just wanted a random industry job, and that was the first one that I could find. Fell in love with it when I was there. And then went back to Universal to my team for my internship for the past 2 years, doing, again, that operations documentation. And then really realized, like, after 2 years that I miss sales. Something that I never thought I would end up doing. I ended up really liking just because of the people aspect of it and the importance of building relationships. And while I love safety and I'm passionate about safety and operations and documentation, it's very singular. And so I was kind of on the hunt for something new. And a colleague of mine, a good friend, introduced me to image engineering. We're based in Baltimore, Maryland, and we do practical special effects for the industry. And they were looking for a business development manager, someone to really grow their presence in this industry. And they hired me. I started in March of 2024 of this year. And my first day on the job was in Las Vegas at the IAAPA event, their North America Summit. So, and then it's just been lots of travel. It's been learning about lasers and fog and all of these crazy things that I've never worked with before. And then, that led me to Branson, where we sponsored that event. And now we met, and here I am. So it's a truncated version of it.
I mean, there's so much there I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
But first, we have to do image engineering some justice, because I know that many of us some of us are familiar with it, but special effects is kind of a silent part of the business to some degree.
Yes.
We don't see all that's happening behind the scenes. It's opportunities like what we had in Branson, where you actually learn about a lot of what's happening there. And actually recently I went to, with IAAPA, we went to Canada's Wonderland.
Oh, nice.
We saw a lot of that in-house, which was pretty amazing to me, because it's very rare at a park these days where they're doing all the building and creating all the special effects in-house. Whereas I think, correct me if I'm wrong, most parks today would outsource that to companies like you.
Usually, yeah. Like if it's a fireworks show, like for 4th of July or something, or, you have your Disneys and Universals who kind of design those because they have the scale, but they still will go to vendors like us to pull from people that do things that are specific.
Right. And experts. You've got experts on your team.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about how at Image Engineering you guys are staying ahead of the curve, developing new special effects technologies. What does that look like? What does that landscape look like?
Sure. So the special effects that we provide are practical. So I like to say, think of the elements. So we have wind, we have drones, we have fog, we do fire effects, all custom. We do water effects, we do fireworks. So any of those really physical pieces that you see that enhance a show, that's what we specialize in. And there are, different companies that do it throughout the industry. But I think what sets us apart is how we're constantly innovating. You only innovate as much as your client demands it. And we don't just do work in the themed entertainment industry. This is actually kind of new for us. We have decades of experience working with professional sports teams. Right now, we have 16 out of 32 NFL teams, I believe, and then concert touring. And that's really what's driving our innovation. You see things like the Taylor Swift Eras Tour. You see things like Olivia Rodrigo's tour, like all these incredible spectacles. Our clients from the touring side are really pushing our innovation because they're the ones that want the biggest, the loudest, the most visually stunning piece of equipment, because it's just, there's such a demand for concerts right now that the shows need to be bigger and better and bolder. And so that's really pushed our innovation forward. So we do a lot of our work in-house. We build a lot in-house. We don't buy fog machines off the shelf. We don't buy smoke boxes off the shelf. We're building everything in-house.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what's so interesting? I was just having a conversation. So I think I told you my kids were just in the Mile High Youth Theater production of Urinetown.
Yes.
And they just finished their run. Its closing night was Sunday. And a couple of friends came out to visit, one of which a family of avid concert goers. And we were having just this conversation on Sunday about how the concerts are just getting bigger and better than ever, the production values. I saw SZA this year, which was probably one of the most insane shows I had ever seen with regard to the production. I mean, where she's flying through the air. I mean, it's insane. And then I saw New Kids on the Block just maybe a month ago here in Denver, and I had seen them a couple of years back. And to see the jump in the innovation that's been done with even their production value just in the last 2 years. And I mean, they've been around forever. They still dance the same, which I enjoy. But I'm not gonna lie, I've been a fan for as long as I can remember.
That's awesome.
Yeah, since I was probably 12 years old. But to really see the innovation that's happening in the concert space, I know exactly what you're talking about, because this year more than ever, it's blowing my mind what's happening in that particular segment of attractions and entertainment. So, you know, and I was going to ask you to share some examples, but you shared some amazing examples with Taylor Swift and some of the others that are doing these great things. Well, you know, one of the things that you mentioned when you were talking about kind of your career and your journey and where you've been, was that sales. The love of sales. Like, for some people, that is a bad word, right? Like,
yeah,
I know you know what I'm talking about, but I also share that sentiment. You know, sales is really what has parlayed my success as well, and given me opportunities that I had not even imagined as a young person. And so I love that that's a big part of the conversation that you're having and part of what you've been able to accomplish. And, you know, I imagine networking is a big part of that. That's how we met at an event. And so I'm curious if networking has played a critical role in your career development. I mean, you certainly mentioned that a friend referred you over, and that's an important part of networking, right? Knowing who you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I could talk for days about networking and the impact it's had. And it really is. You know, when I went to college, I went to Rosen, and they did a great job of kind of explaining, you know, how we move around in not just the theme park industry, but hotels, restaurants, you know, they have everybody. And they said that networking is how you get jobs. And I've definitely found that to be true. But it took me a long time just over my career to learn, what does that mean and what is networking truly. And I really like to tell people that I think the word itself is kind of intimidating. It's like, oh my gosh, I have to make these connections to get something out of someone that leads to money or leads to a job or whatever. And I like to reframe it and say networking is just relationship building. And if you go in kind of with like no expectations, if you go in treating somebody like you need to get something out of them, you're probably not going to build a genuine connection. But if you go in and talk about your common interests and what you're passionate about, and find things that you relate to somebody about, that's just going to build organically and lead to business over time. And that's kind of what I've had. Just a lot of what I've done is volunteering with IAAPA and AIMS and other organizations within the industry, making connections there, and then building on them over time. because it's not like you meet someone, you shake their hand once and they offer you the biggest contract you've ever seen. It's a long game. It's like in college, they told us networking is like bank accounts where you need to put a lot in before you can take something out.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually have a saying when I speak. So I speak a lot on networking, or at least your network at women's conferences. And one of the things that I say is, your network, we've all heard the saying, your network is your net worth, right? Like, it's very, very important to have a strong network and for people to get to know you. But really, when we look at business, and especially in this space, I mean, we're pretty tight knit in attraction. Yeah. And I know that you've been in hospitality for all these years, but for image engineering, this is a new segment of the industry. Yes. You're probably seeing some of that, right? Like, it's very tight knit. But that being said, it reinforces that belief that so much of business is about relationships. Because ultimately, you're right. And, one of the things that that I've learned over the years, and the rest of probably my sales team, is that most people will make decisions based on whether or not they like you. And I think the studies and research has shown that being likable is probably one of the best things you can do for your career. Did you know that? You ever heard that?
I didn't, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it's like likability is more important than even skills in some cases, right? And so it, again, reinforces that belief that having a network and getting to know people, but also, as you know, Gatemaster, we straddle both the attraction space and as well as the tech space. And in the tech world right now, there's been a lot of unfortunate layoffs happening from some of the big companies. And one of the things that I was talking to a woman who is the president of Women Impact Tech, and she was telling me just last year about how with these layoffs, it's taking women 3 times as long to get jobs than their male counterparts. And I only bring this up because I thought this was really interesting. So when I asked her, what do you think that is? She says, well, the data is not really showing it's because and granted, the tech space, we're still only about 25% women. There's still some work to be done with regards to getting more seats at the table for women in that particular space. But it wasn't that we were women that made it 3 times as hard. It was that our networks weren't as wide as our male counterparts. And I don't know if I've told you this story before, but it really kind of blew my mind about the importance of knowing people, right? Mm-hmm. And for some people, I'm not going to lie, after an event, like some of these events that we go to where we're networking for days on end, I get home and my social battery's gone,
same.
Right?
Yeah. I'm an extroverted introvert, I like to say.
I'm glad you'll admit that with me, because sometimes I try to tell people it's not easy work, right? It's not easy to put yourself out there and try to get to know people. Even I just look at my kids right now in school, how hard it is for them to develop relationships just with the other students, right? So what we're doing in the world and creating these relationships is hard work. And, but that, talking about the kids, that leads me to like your supportive young professionals. I know that you have been an instrumental part of the IAAPA committees and task force. And maybe would you mind telling us a little bit about that work or what you're doing there?
Yeah. So IAAPA, the International Association of Amusement Parks and Attractions, they are built by their members, essentially. So anybody that's a member can get involved and volunteer with IAAPA. And they're run, one of the parts of IAAPA is their committees. So they're committees that help govern and support and operate and develop a lot of their programming. So I sit on the education committee for North America, and we're working on curating the educational content that you'll see at IAAPA Expo. There's hundreds of education sessions over 4 days. It's a lot. And we help decide what those are. And so within our committee, we have somebody that represents each part of the industry. So we have someone from, operations, food and beverage, entertainment, and then young professionals, because we actually have a ton of young professionals that go and students that go to Expo in Orlando. I think last year we had over 800 students alone that registered.
Wow.
It's a lot, which is great that people want to get involved. So my role on the committee is to represent all of those people and curate education content for them. So if you're an IAAPA member, you could submit to speak at Expo, and then we get a ton of proposals. And then I was given permission to create a task force, which is 5 other individuals that are young professionals that I work with from different parts of the industry. And we went through all of that and customized, picked speakers, and said, these are the specific sessions that we think our people are going to get the most use out of during the expo. So I get to lead that task force and be a part of the committee. We also just did a webinar for IAAPA called a live chat, which is a new format for them. So we hadn't done that in a while, and we got feedback from our members that they want more online-based education or things like this outside of just that 1 week in November. So we did that, and then we're going to try to do another one closer to the show to get people prepped. So I really love it. Anybody can get involved. They actually have applications open for it right now, I think through October 1st, if you're interested in getting involved. And I just fell into it by knowing people, networking basically. I used to work for IAAPA, and then the reason I got that job was because in 2019, I was part of their show ambassador program, which is during the expo, they do it for Asia and Europe as well. They invite about over 30 young professionals and students from across the industry to help run the show. So to scan people into education sessions, to help people get on buses, all of those little operations things that you need for a convention of 40,000 people. So yeah, it's great. I really encourage volunteering, and that's how I built my network and my skill set as well.
And that's the thing. Yeah, I don't know if you know this. I'm going to be working at Boulder CU here in Colorado, teaching young professionals. I'm leading a kind of a task force of entrepreneurs who are developing their businesses while still in school. And, so it's very similar, right, in terms of mentoring young people who are just getting their start and starting out. I do truly, one thing that's you've said over and over again that I think is really a nice thing that I want to highlight is that, even when you're in school, so much of what you're benefiting from the college experience is that networking, right? And it's such a huge thing that I think nobody talks about, right? And one of the things I love about what you've said as well, and we've talked about this a little bit offline too, is the career opportunities that are within this industry. You mentioned that somebody takes a summer job and gets hooked, and then next thing you know, they've just spent 20 years in the industry and now they're a GM or a vice president of operations. You can build a career and a life in this industry. I think you and I are both success stories of that, right?
Yeah.
I myself started in an attraction and loved it so much and realized that this was a happy industry for me to be a part of as well. I love it. And it's what's kept me here. And I'm curious if you have, seeing that you've worked with so many of these young professionals in your time on these IAAPA committees and task force, what would be some of the best advice that you would give young professionals entering the themed attraction industry and helping them develop their passions within this field?
I would say get involved and learn how to really build relationships. So there are so many opportunities for students nowadays, and people just new to the industry. I'm sure much more than there were, when you first started out. You can be an intern. It's easier to get an internship than it is to get, a professional full-time job. So apply for those internships. Disney, Universal has them. Hirsch and Family Entertainment has them. I know Cedar Point, I don't know how what the merger did, but all the kind of big companies in our industry have internship programs. And if you're not interested in operations, if you want to be an engineer or designer, all the vendors in the industry usually have interns for different disciplines. My company has a ton of interns. Look at what options are there because there are options. So definitely apply to those. Usually they look for juniors and seniors more, but really try to even start applying so you understand the process the sooner you can. And then volunteer. While you're a student, you can be an IAAPA show ambassador. You can be an AIMS show ambassador. That's the kind of safety and certification organization, AIMS. They're fantastic. You can volunteer with them. You can go to ASTM and learn about how people develop safety regulations for the industry. You can do all of these things while you're still in school. you can go to IAAPA and you can sit in on the education sessions. So getting involved is great. And then once you are involved and you're starting to meet those people, really focus on cultivating the relationship, not getting something out of it. I know there's a lot of pressure. People tell me, I spent all this money. I got a hotel, I got a flight, I paid for tickets to go to IAAPA. Like I'm here to get a job. And while yes, it is a big investment, especially when you're a student, you have to understand that if you want quality in the long run, you just got to be there to observe and learn and meet people and just be open with people. Don't try to be like, I'm the greatest young engineer you've ever met in your entire life. Here's why you should hire me. Tell somebody you've researched their company and you're interested in it and you just want to know more and you're passionate about this industry. Go in with an open mind and offer, just yourself and your friendship and your interest and your passion. Don't kind of go in guns blazing and say, I want to meet the CEO of this company and get hired by them. So I think if you really get involved as early as you can, and then really focus on just building good relationships while you're volunteering and getting involved, that's the best way to be successful.
Yeah. And, one of my mentors always says, leave more than you take, right?
I love
Like
that.
if that is what we're offering as an intern or a volunteer, leave more than you take, because that speaks volumes, right, about who you are. And even as a leader of my company and somebody who's been a student of leadership, I would say that is one of the things that has consistently spoke to me over the years, was that when you see somebody giving more than they take, that's also the sign of a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So when you're young and you're doing something like that, because, I think there's a lot of opposition in the world today that says, that it says to young people that they might be entitled to more than what they're bringing to the table. Right. And that's why I think it's important to say, leave more than you take, because that's recognized. Right. And that's really what leadership is serving other people. And that's why,
Absolutely.
and really, that's a likable thing. That's a likable skill. People want to be around people who are helping them, who are in
Mm-hmm.
agreement with them, and, being kind to them. And I think what you're saying makes so much sense. Get involved and be a part of these things, and the opportunities just follow.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I really haven't applied traditionally for half the things that I'm doing right now, both my volunteer experience and like jobs. It's just kind of like happened to me through people offering.
Yeah. And look, I get it. I never thought I was going to be CEO of a tech company. When I started at QSAR in the late 90s, sadly, I hate saying it was that long ago, but especially as I approach my birthday this September. But, I just tried to serve my
Mhm.
ownership, my leadership team, the guests that we had, and do the best that I could. And I think that that's something that, if I think you and I have spoke about it, and we both are in agreement, when you're becoming valuable to other people, it's important. Like, there's a lot of, I'm not saying everyone's not valuable. Somebody kind of challenged me on this the other day. Like, well, hey, just like existing is valuable to, yes, that's true. Everybody has their value, and that speaks in so many different ways. But when you are taking an internship and you are taking initiative and you're doing a good job at what you've set out to do, you become valuable to that team. I can't tell you how many interns we've hired. We hire more interns into this company than not, right? Because,
Oh yeah, we absolutely have done that as well.
right, we've been so lucky to have interns who show up and are helping us move the business forward and contributing to the community and the culture that we have and the ideas that we have, and also share our love of this industry and the mission that we have to help serve attractions all over the world in their missions, but also helping them be massively successful at what they do, which is why at the beginning of this, you said, this is my happy place, because the
Yeah.
culture that surrounds the industry that we're in. So I so appreciate you. I hope you're okay on time. We're just about at 30 minutes. And, I just am curious, if there were any other insights that you had or anything else that you wanted to share about image engineering and the work that you all are doing? I know you mentioned that you do have the internship program, but how can somebody find you all, and what would be the reason why they might want to look at your company for maybe some of the needs that they have in their organization?
Sure. You can learn more about us if you just type in image engineering and go to our website. We have case studies on a lot of the work that we've done, everything from architectural lighting to fireworks. You can see what we're all about. And just that, it's really exciting time for us. A lot of our history, like I said, has been in sports and music touring, and our side of the business on themed entertainment is fairly new. So it's really fun for us to develop new ways to kind of get our products into a permanent installation versus, a temporary tour. But we're using our decades of knowledge from those temporary events. We don't get a do-over during a live NFL game. When the players are coming out and we're doing their intro, we're not going to say, hey guys, we're not done yet. Let's stop this game. So we're kind of used to working under tight deadlines and working with the highest level of professionals in entertainment. So it's really exciting to kind of to shift into this industry. And I never thought I'd be on the vendor side. My whole world was the park. So my eyes have been so open. I tell everybody, I'm like, I work with the smartest people I've ever met in the industry. I'm like, I walk into our warehouse, I'm like, I have no idea how you guys have shot a flame that high in the air and not burnt the building down, but somehow they have the knowledge to do it. So it's just really incredible to be working with so many talented people. And even, I'm grateful for the opportunities they've given me just to go out and travel and actually understand what I'm selling and seeing our effects in person. I just got to go to Baltimore. We did the fireworks and drones for the city for 4th of July. I've been to New York City. That was my first time ever in New York. I saw a Rangers game because we did their lasers. So just being able to really experience the shows and see what we're all about just makes me so much more passionate about what we're doing.
That's so awesome. And I just have to tell a story to our audience because I do that. Sorry, bear with me. But
Please go.
What you're talking about with regards to the shows that are happening within the themed entertainment space and attractions. And one story that I love to tell is my mother. She used to camp out at Disneyland or wherever she'd take it. So my parents didn't have much, but my mom was a tour guide for exchange students. Oh. And so her boss would always let her bring, I had 3 sisters, so the 4 of us along whenever they would go to the parks. And that was how we were able to go to parks as frequently as we could. But it became one of the best memories that I have with my mother. And one thing that I always like to remember is how she used to like camp out so we would have the best view of any show. And she would just she'd be like, I'm going to sit here for 8 hours. I don't care. You guys stay together. I mean, back then kids could wander by themselves. It was the 80s, but she would camp out like literally for 8 hours. She'd be like, bring me some food. I'll stick out here. And we had the best views of every single shows. So I always say I'm a total nerd for fireworks shows. And that's the one thing I refuse to miss whenever I'm visiting a park, even if I'm completely and totally and utterly exhausted and I'm having to drag my family along for the ride, I will still make it to the show because I just love not only that memory that I had with my mother, but also recognizing the importance of what you all are doing and providing that type of entertainment. And we forget that there are people behind all of that, right? Mm-hmm. You're in the middle of watching the show. You're in awe of the show. But sometimes we fail to recognize the people behind the magic, right? And so I just want to recognize the work that you all are doing at Image Entertainment and supporting this great industry that we both love. And I really appreciate you coming on the show today and all of your insights and even the advice for the young professionals in this space, because I think that there is probably a little bit of a lack of information for people with regards to realizing that, you can start anywhere in this industry and create a career path for yourself within this industry if you love it and you want to be here with the rest of us. Some of us who have been here many, many years. I mean, I think we have one IAAPA member that's coming up on 100-year membership.
Wow.
Mike was telling me last time, and I don't want to spill the beans, but to me, that is just amazing and speaks volume about the work that's being done in this industry.
Absolutely.
So Megan, thank you so much. Real quick, how can somebody get a hold of you if they would like to connect with you after the show?
Yeah. So if you want to connect with me, it's Megan G, MEGANG at imageengineering.com. Feel free to email me. I'm happy to chat. I love this industry. I love helping people. Or I'm also on LinkedIn, Megan Gannon, and check us out, imageengineering.com. Look what we're doing, see the work we've got going on. And yeah, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you, Megan, for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. This was so fun.
It was fun. Well, maybe we'll have to do it again. I'm always down for more conversations like this, especially when they add so much value to our audience and the people who are watching. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's our show for today. Isn't she amazing? I like I said, I met her just a couple of months ago. We got to sit next to each other for a dinner conversation. And, the things that she's doing to move this industry forward really resonated with me. And I hope you enjoyed the content that we had here, not only talking about the amazing work that image engineering is doing for the industry, but also what we're doing for young professionals through IAAPA, her contributions to the committees and task force. And, I want to pitch that again, because I know there are opportunities for all of you out there if you would like to volunteer your time and contribute to that and help young professionals find a place in this great industry of ours. And last but not least, if you are interested in being a guest on this show, I will post a link in the comments so that you can join me here. We're always looking for information like what Megan shared to help move our industry forward and to help parks do what they do best. And sharing information and sharing content and helping them see what options they have is super important. And so I want to invite you to maybe step out of your comfort zone and come visit me on this live show so we can have a conversation about what you're doing. And last but not least, if you are looking for an upgrade of your ticketing or point of sale in your park or attraction, or you just need actionable steps that you can take to make that part of your operation better, I want to invite you to message my team or visit us. Here's a QR code, gatemaster.com, and you can book a discovery call with one of our industry experts. And our promise to you is if we don't have any answer for you, we're going to help you find the answers, because we know there are a lot of people out there looking to improve not only the processes that they have within their organizations, but also, the revenue and moving that business forward, that attraction business forward. And we want to help you do that. So if a discovery call can help you achieve your goals and you are looking for a company who's aligned with that, we would love to help you. But otherwise, I hope that you all have an amazing day. Appreciate you being here with me. I know that we're in the smack dab in the middle of summer, in the middle of, for many of you, the busiest parts of your season. So I appreciate your time and your listen. And you can find us on all major podcasting networks if you'd like to listen this through the podcast channels. Otherwise, if you're watching this on replay, #replay, so Megan and I know that you were here, and we'll see you on the next live.